dragon's wing, a silver sword, and a flash of your face seen through the strange woman's eyes.
My head. What is this? Skvar, you are no thrall. Vlaakith blesses me this day. Together, we might survive. We carry mind flayer parasites. Unless we escape, unless we are cleansed, our bodies and minds will be tainted and twisted. Within days, we will be Geich, mind flayers. Who am I? Your only chance of survival. We can do nothing until we escape. That must be our priority. First, we exterminate the imps. Then we find the helm and take control of the ship. We will address the matter of a cure for this infection once we reach the material plane.
Huh, so we're not in the material plane. Interesting.
Alright, so Baldur's Gate 3 might be the game who gets me back into the fantasy, the epic narrative, the RPGs, the epic lore, the medieval epic fantasy. This game is so interesting. Now, I've been playing World of Warcraft, I've been playing Elder Scrolls, I've been playing other RPGs and so on and so forth, and I had quit because I feel that modern games are pretty lazy. The lore in these games has become so intellectually unchallenging. There's no intellectual challenge in these lores, but when I started playing Baldur's Gate 3, I saw that it was graded 10 out of 10, I saw that it's Game of the Year, and it seems to be one of these games that comes out every 10 or 20 years, and it kinda blows your mind, and then I started playing it, and you realize that everything is there, every single detail, the lore, the narrative, the effects, the graphics, the storytelling, the music, every single aspect is there, and you realize that this is one of the games that we're going to be talking about for the next 10 years probably, and everything is going to be compared to this game, everything that comes after it. So straight from the bat, what I want to do in this video is just go a little bit into the first impressions, and what I want to do in this channel is sort of connect the lore, the intellectual lore in these games, to some of the real themes, mythologies, philosophies, and even modern theories and science. And the big question is, why do we love these fantasies so much? Why is there any connection to reality, or is it just the wild imagination of the human psyche and the subconscious human desires, or is there something more to these fantasies? So I'm gonna go straight into it. Alright, so straight away, they let you know what's going on. You're being abducted by aliens, these elite, these mind flayers who kinda need you or want you for something. They are abducting people from they make it clear, the material realms. They come from the astral plane, so there's this whole intermix of the astral planes and the material, and they insert a tadpole in your brain. They are interested in your brain. So what is the brain? The brain is the mind, is the consciousness, is the experiences, is the emotions, the human emotion. Now, when I say human, I'm gonna say human. Well, of course, in fantasy we're talking about humanoids, because you know, a human might be an elf or a gnome or a dwarf or whatever. These are humanoids, so I'm gonna be interchanging these things, because this idea of aliens from the astral realms, like the Githyanki and these illithids, and then there is the humanoids and the beings in the physical realm. Now, what I find interesting about this whole tadpole just digging into the mind of humans or humanoids is that there is some real theories dealing with this. There's this whole concept from a guy named Robert Monroe who wrote about this, and you know, when you go into the study of psychedelics and some of the other altered states of consciousness, there is this term called loosh. And there's this whole wild theory that there are these beings from other dimensions who want to get information or who feed upon the emotions of humans or the feelings of humans or the experiences of humans. And this whole thing is called Lush. Google it. So I find it really interesting that as the fantasies that we consume, that we're looking into, like right now the game is Baldur's Gate 3, they make it very obvious that there is this whole thing about this interaction with aliens or beings from other dimensions, from the astral realms. And there's this whole dynamic going on here. So another thing that they make very clear in the game is that these elitists, these mind flayers, they don't want to kill you straight away. They need you for something. They want you for something. And there is another aspect to this which I find very interesting.
Suddenly you feel a hideous squirming in your head. The parasite. Then discomfort fades, and another sensation washes over you. Connection. Authority.
So when you start dealing with the artifacts in the ship and trying to control some of these different mechanisms in the ship, there's this little scene where they tell you that you feel connection to the ship and authority. And just living besides the fact, there are some theories which suggest that these aliens, real life aliens, do control their ships with their consciousness, with their mind. In the game you see it represented as some sort of an energy which is outside of your head, this sort of electromagnetic energy or some sort of magic, or I think in the game it's called psionics or something like that, because it's just like psychic themes. And when you meet Lae'zel and when you meet some of the other characters like Shadowheart, all of them have this same tadpole which was inserted by the aliens, but then you kind of start sharing your mind, your emotions, your mental images. You see what Lae'zel saw. She saw your face and you see what she saw. So there's this interconnection with the emotions, with the feelings, with the mental images of others.
Thank you.
Your mind lurches into her thoughts. Her gratitude is mixed with wariness, because you have a gift with you.
You keep dangerous company.
So what we're talking about here is about consciousness. What I like about these fantasies, they go into the whole theme of consciousness, and I think in this specific lore in Baldur's Gate, then it goes into the absolute or something like that, and I think it is an evil energy or something like that. But the whole thing about the tadpole and the magic, the psionics or whatever, is that these are tools that we are finding in fantasy to communicate consciousness. Now, there are some theories which do suggest that what consciousness is in real life is nothing but quantum information, which connects to the outside. So when I find in these fantasy narratives what they express, they portray this energy outside of your mind as magic, as psionics, and this whole interchanging of ideas, of emotions, of mental images. I find it really interesting, and I am looking forward to see where they're gonna take this whole theme of interconnected minds or hive minds, which some other theories say that these aliens, the actual real life aliens, are some sort of a hive mind themselves, and these elitists in the game are some sort of a hive mind. So it's interesting to explore these things for sure.
Something help me before I die.
So in Baldur's Gate 3, they allow you to have a party of adventurers, and you can choose them, and each of them have their own specific stories, what are called the origin stories. And these at the beginning, along with the fact that in combat you control all of them, it was a little bit off-putting. I didn't want to get into this because I found it a little bit unimmersive, especially since I tried to get into Divinity Original Sin 2, which is a different game from the same developers, which is also a very high acclaimed game, but I just couldn't get into the combat. But I don't think I really gave it a good try. But now what I'm finding really interesting is that some of these characters are just so well done, and you have to give the developers props for this. The dialogue, the storytelling, the narratives are so interesting. So now, instead of being off-putting for me to have a party of adventurers, I'm just so interested into what their story is. So for this playthrough, I am gonna take the mage Gale, which he wants. It seems that he wants to understand the truth about the arcane and the mystery arts, which is something that I would make a character for that, but I don't have to make a character for that, since I can have him as an adventurer with me. And I can know his story. I'm gonna have the cleric Shadowheart, which seems to be some sort of a dark cleric or something like that. She's an acolyte of some sort of goddess, so I'm very interested to, number one, play as a cleric, because I always like to have an old priest in World of Warcraft and just sort of see that part of the games, of the narratives, of the arcs. I'm always gonna be a paladin, but I like that aspect, and I don't have to make another playthrough. I can just have my partner, my adventurer with me, and I'm gonna know about her story, and I'm gonna learn a little bit about the gods and goddesses in the game, which is another interesting aspect of the whole fantasy theme. So I am really liking this feature in the game, the way they implement it, and when maybe I'll talk about combat in the future, but it's a really interesting aspect of it, just dealing with all the spells from 4 different characters in 4 different roles. I think that's the gist of it, and I didn't get this before, and it prevented me from playing games like this, and now I'm absolutely loving it. If you would like to know more about the lore surrounding these fantasy narratives and how they perhaps connect to real-life theories and philosophies, please like this video, subscribe to this channel, as I will try to find these connections and explore the possibilities that these lores can provide. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.